If you've ever wanted to know what mouse the best CS2 player, WARHURYEAH, was using at the CS2 BLAST Major, well, you can't because Australis didn't qualify. But I do know what the other inferior players were using, as I went through all the VODs and photos from the BLAST Austin Major and identified every mouse that every player was using at the event. All 160 of them. And yes, it was as painful as it sounds, and I am not okay. It's been a year since my last CS2 analysis video, and this year marks a significant shift in the mice used. Some brands have gained users, some have lost. And what I can tell you is that this is one of the most varied CS events I've analysed, with multiple new brands being featured. And someone at this event was using a mouse from 2014, and no, I'm not joking, it has 2500 DPI. This information is around 95 to 97% correct. There were a few issues getting an ID on some mice, mainly involving players that went 0-3 and got knocked out early, as there wasn't much footage or photos of them. For those, and I think it mainly applies to around 5 to 7 players, I had to refer to older event photos. To keep things simple, I combined different models into one, so that means Zowie's EC1, 2 or 3s are just the EC, and the Death Adder V3 Hyperspeed and Pro is just the Death Adder V3. Anyway, let's start off with the number of brands. The last tournament I analysed, the first CS2 Major in Copenhagen, had only 8 brands at the event. This event featured 11. Of the 8 brands that featured in the Copenhagen Major, 3 of them didn't make the cut this time around. SteelSeries no longer feature, as Woxic has retired his Sensei 10 and is now using the Viper V3 Pro. Endgame Gear no longer feature. One of the players that used the OP18K in Copenhagen, Snacks, is now using the Zowie FK. And there was one guy using a Ponage mouse that didn't attend this event.
We have gained some new brands. The following have never appeared in one of my previous analysis videos: Pulsar, WL Mouse, HitScan, and incredibly Asus ROG. Pulsar have made massive gains at this event and they'll feature a bit later on. The others, however, had just one user. Slacks was using a WL Mouse Beast X, Maka was using the HitScan Hyperlight, and Vinny was using the Asus ROG Harp Aim Ace. There is only one other brand that has just one user but has appeared in one of the videos previously, which is Mouse with this guy using a Ultralight X. As is tradition for all of these videos, I want you to guess who the top 3 are, so leave your answers in the comments below. The next least used manufacturer was Lamzu with 3 total users, 2 using a Maya and 1 using a Thorn. Faxi finished 5th in the overall rankings after finishing joint 3rd the year before. They've lost around a 2% share, with their most popular mouse being the Faxi XE. 4th is Pulsar with an incredible 15 users at this event, with the X-Lite Esports Edition being the most popular mouse with 12 users in total. Additionally, there was 1 standard X-Lite user, an X2, and shockingly, ZywOo is using his own mouse. This gain is incredible considering the last CS2 Major I covered in Copenhagen had no Pulsar mice at all, and also as Pulsar seemed to be doing a lot more marketing in Valorant than CS2, but CS2 seems to have adopted their mice a lot more. 3rd place features one of the biggest drop-offs that I've seen, and that is Zowie, who had a 31.7% share of all mice used in the Copenhagen Major. They've dropped down to just having 18.1%. Out of the 29 mice that appeared, 20 of those were a version of the EC, then the FK, U2s and S2s. This is also rather surprising considering Zowie's recent wireless refresh of their previous models, which I thought would have even increased their share. 2nd place is Razer, who went from a 10.8% share last year to 16.9%. The share of their models is pretty even as well, with 13 Viper V3 Pro users, 11 Death Adder V3 Pro or Hyperspeeds, then another mouse that I can't talk about or I'll get shot had 2 users. But that's not all. This is a Death Adder Elite. 2 years later, after his last appearance in this video, Hampus is back and he's still using this awful mouse. Maybe this is why they lost every game. And this isn't even the oldest mouse used at the event, which is coming next. So once again, Logitech is the most popular brand at a CS2 event, but they have dropped in terms of overall users. Last year they had a 42.5% share. This year's gone down. to 41.3. After seeing this information, some people are going to just assume that these players are sponsored and are contractually obligated to use these mice, which is wrong. I'll be debunking this a bit later. In terms of the Logitech models used, last year every Logitech mouse was a Superlight. This year, from what I could tell, there was only one player using the new Superlight decks. So it's looking like the Superlight decks might be a Superlight dud for the pro scene. Also, there was one player, Nix, who was using a G300S. I kid you not, this mouse was released in 2014. It has 2500 DPI and it is by far the oldest mouse that I've seen. And this guy is a pro player. What's your excuse with your $200 Finer Mouse Ultralight X and $500 limited edition WARHURYEAH glass mousepad with anime girl number 24 on it and a gamer sleeve? So the top 5 models of the Blast Austin Major were in 5th the Razer DeathAdder V3 or Hyperspeed with 11 users. In 4th is the Pulsar X Lite eSport version with 12 users. In 3rd is the Razer Viper V3 Pro with 13 users. 2nd is the Zowie EC with 20 users. And finally, way ahead in 1st is the Logitech Superlight 1 or 2 with 66 users. In terms of the sponsor contracts, blah 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 stuff, I've done the research and this is what I found. Just over half the teams at the event actually had a potential peripheral sponsor. And I've included brands that nobody would actually use a mouse for, like Alienware and Corsair. There were only 14 players out of the 160 where they were using a mouse that could have been provided by a sponsor and therefore be obligated to use it. But let's take the players that do have individual sponsors like Zyru and Pulsar, and I believe Nico is with Razer. So that takes it to around 16 players out of 160. 2 of them we know for a fact have some sort of direct official relationship and therefore are likely contracted to use their mice. So regardless of how you spin it and your parasocial relationship with mouse manufacturers, it might be fair to say that players are using mice that they actually just want to use. Some additional bits of information. There were 5 wired mice used at the event, with I think 3 of those 5 having a wireless version available, and Dumal from Legacy, that guy, also did a segment showing what's in his bag. In this video he showed 10 mice in total. 3 Superlights, 1 Razer DeathAdder V3 Pro, 1 mysterious Razer mouse, 1 Viper V3 Pro, 1 Pulsar X2, 1 Zowie U2, 1 Zowie FK I think, and 1 EC. God, I'm lonely. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe and watch the Valorant video if you want. I've put it on screen now so you can see the differences between the 2 esports.